膨れ上がったお前たちがいれば話は別だ。俺の傘下に入れ。お前たちを使ってみせよう。
What's up guys, Jax here with another tutorial. Today we're going to be making Overhaul's mask from My Hero Academia. Alright, starting out with pattern piece A, just trace it, making sure to add all the dash marks I added on the top edge. That'll tell you when to change your bevel angles. The first third of this edge is a very steep angle, about 60 degrees. And then after a third of the way through, you're going to switch it up to about 15 degrees inwards bevel. And then 2/3 of the way through, you're going to go back to the steep angle. So make sure your blade is very sharp for this part. The rest of the cuts are just straight cuts. So once you finish cutting it out, flip it over, mirror it, and use the paper pattern to add all the dashes and hole marks. Now take your pattern piece A again and cut out with scissors where the V cut is going to go. Make sure to make this V cut on the opposite side of the foam, not the front. Now with the sharp knife, make a V cut along the Sharpie line you just marked, making sure not to cut all the way through the foam. It should look something like this. Now take your brass rod and sharpen one of the ends with a Dremel. And twist and push your way through the hole marks you made earlier. Now with the knife, pry the little rivet piece out. We're going to use these later on the trim pieces. Now cut out your pattern piece B. All the cuts here are straight, so use a metal ruler to assure a nice straight line. Alright, now we're going to heat form pieces A, both of them, and just bend them inwards so they have a nice curve. Now we're going to start working with some contact cement, so make sure you got your respirator on. And just apply contact cement to where A and B will connect. I went ahead and cut out piece D, making sure to follow the paper pattern and do a 45-degree inwards bevel where it tells me to. I like to preheat all my pieces before I attach them just a little bit, just so I'm not fighting with the foam. Alright, so for this part guys, you want to take your time. Just line up the edges perfectly like you see in the video. Just line up the edges first and foremost, and then after you can press the pieces together. We want this as smooth as possible, so just run your finger down, making sure the edges are touching. Now after cutting out the middle trim piece C, I'm just adding contact cement to where D will attach to it on the sides, and just the whole back of it. And doing the same for the side trims D. Now using the paper pattern, I line up to where it's going to go on the actual piece, so I know where to put my contact cement to keep everything as clean looking as possible. And you guys should know the drill by now. Just put contact cement where it needs to go, follow the pattern. Now waiting for that to dry, it's a good time to put hot glue in those V-cuts you made earlier. Try to add too much hot glue rather than too little so that curve we cut can stay open and we have a nice little curve detail on the front. Now here I'm just heat forming it again, holding it and exaggerating that curve we made. Now I'm just attaching all that trim we put together earlier, making sure to keep it nice and straight. And lining up the edges. Now cut out the base pattern piece on the thickest foam you have. I used 1/2-inch floor mat here just because it's what I had and it's nice and sturdy. Just add contact cement to the base piece and where it's going to go. And while we're waiting for that to dry, cut out the stitch pieces F and E on 2mm foam. And for all the stitching, I like to take a round sanding bit and just smooth out all the edges of the stitching for both E and F. You're going to want to do this part before you cut in the stitches. That's where I messed up here, so just ignore that. Then just heat gun it and then watch the stitches open up. And for the stitch piece F, make sure to cut your stitches in the right direction. They kind of go towards the front of the mask. Now we're going to heat form E and F and give them a nice curve. And when we're contact cementing these parts, make sure to put them only on the very edge of the stitching. And do the same of where they're going to go on the mask. We don't want the middle sticking down. And while that's drying, I attach the base piece. For this, I start at the very bottom and then just attach one side at a time. Now when we attach the stitching piece E, we want to put one side down first and kind of pinch it and attach the other side. Now do the same thing for F. Now you can take all your paper pattern pieces and plot out where all the rivets will be placed. Here's where we can use those holes we cut out earlier. I used 8mm foam to make these holes, so they're a little too thick, so I cut them in half for the rivets. Then I cut out both pieces of H and apply contact cement to where they're going to attach under the mask and together. Now make sure everything's centered and then attach. And for attaching it, I just used the really thin elastic bands and just a line of hot glue. Press it down with a piece of foam. And another glob of hot glue, and then I just tacked down a 2mm foam square and just press it in there and held it till it's cooled. And we're done. Thank you guys for watching, and if you make this, make sure to tag me on Instagram. I'd love to see how yours turns out. And if you guys liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. That'll help me out a lot. And leave a comment what you'd like to see me build next. Stay tuned for more foam tips and tutorials.